we're looking at rational expressions and simplifying rational expressions to their fullest. All you're going to look at every single one of these is to factor and cancel. Factor and cancel. The biggest mistake people will try to do is maybe canceling these out right away and saying it's 2 to 3. No, when you have terms, when you have adding and subtracting in between, you cannot cancel. You have to factor first. In these ones, you only have one term on top and bottom, so they cannot be factored. You just look to see what you can simplify. In terms of the variables, I have x squared up top, x to the 5th on the bottom. If it helps, write them out as x squared and x to the 5th. 2 of the x's would cancel out because you're multiplying. And as for the numbers, excuse me, 34 and 24, you can both divide them by 2. So you'd have 17 and 12 when you divide both top and bottom by 2. So what that leaves you with is 17 on top, 12 with 3 x's on the bottom, 12x cubed. And again, if you want to think of it this way, x squared would cancel out with 2 of the x's there, leaving you with 3 behind, where you have x cubed. Number 2, when you factor and cancel, I can factor out of the top. I can divide out a 2, which would leave me with 2x minus 5. On the bottom, I can factor out a 3, which leaves me with 2x minus 5. And this is what's going to happen a lot of the time. You should end up with the same thing on the top and bottom that can cancel out. And what you're left with in this case is 2 over 3. In number 3, only one term up top, so I cannot factor it. On the bottom, I can divide both of these guys by a 7. When I do that, I'm left with y plus 6. Once you factor, see what can cancel. There's nothing specific that can cancel. However, what I can do is I can divide both the top and bottom by 7. It would become a 3. This would become a 1. So it means your final answer would be 3 over y plus 6. And again, you can't go and say, well, that cancels into a 1 into a 2 because you have this addition sign here. You cannot cancel terms, only things that are factored. So that's your final answer. In number 4 here, on the top, they have a y in common, so that's what I'm going to factor out. It will leave x plus 2 behind. On the bottom, because I have both negatives here, I'm going to factor out a negative, and I can divide both those numbers by 8. When I factor those out, it'll become positive x and positive 2. Because 16 divided by 8 gives you 2. And again, something should be in common. See x plus 2. So you're left with y divided by negative 8. The negative can be with the 8 on the bottom, with the y up top, or out in front of everything. All those mean the exact same thing. Alright, next set. For the numerator, 2 terms, I can factor out a 3 from both of them, which leaves me with z plus 4. On the bottom, now we're looking into some trinomials. What multiplies to 28 and adds to 11? Well, that's going to be 8. It's not going to be 8. It's going to be 7 and 4. Bigger number gets the sign in front. Positive times what gives you a positive? Another positive. So z plus 7, z plus 4 is what you get on the bottom. These guys can cancel out, leaving you with just a 3 up top and a z plus 7 on the bottom. For number 6, trinomial on top. So 2 sets of parentheses. Let me get some more room. Let me put it down here. 2 sets of parentheses up top. What multiplies to 45 and subtracts to 4? That's going to be 9 and 5 with an n in each. Bigger number gets sign in front. Positive times what gives you negative? It'll be a negative. On the bottom, this is a difference of squares. You need to identify the squares immediately. So anytime you see 2 terms, do you think in square roots? So what you're going to get here is n minus 9 and n plus 9, because 9 times 9 gives you 81. And again, you should have things canceling out. They do, leaving you with n minus 5 up top, n minus 9 on the bottom. For number 7, on the top, numbers that multiply to 42 and subtract to 1, well, that's going to be 6 and 7. So p in each, 6 and 7. Bigger number gets the sign in the front. Negative times what gives you negative? Well, that's got to be positive. On the bottom, numbers that multiply to 48 and subtract to 2 are going to be 8 and 6. Bigger number gets the sign in front. Negative times positive gives you the negative. So again, I should have things probably canceling out, and I do, which will leave me with an answer of p minus 7 on the top, p minus 8 on the bottom. And for number 8, when you factor the top, factor the 3 that add the 4 are 1 and 3. Bigger number gets the sign in front. Negative times what gives you positive? Another negative. Negative times negative gives you positive. On the bottom, numbers multiplying to 30 and subtracting to 7. That's 10 and 3 with your x in each. Bigger number, sign in front. And positive times negative gives you negative. So x minus 3's cancel, leaving you with x minus 1 over x plus 10 as your final answer. Alright, last set, getting a little bit more tricky. Remember, anytime you got a quadratic here, first look to see, I should probably be able to divide that entire numerator by this lead coefficient of 3. So I'm going to do that. When I factor out that 3, I'll be left with x squared plus 6x minus 7. On the bottom, they all have an x in common, so I'm going to factor out that x first. X squared minus x minus 56. I need to check, can I factor these guys anymore? And indeed I can. The top will become, factor the 7 subtracting the 6, would be x plus 7 and x minus 1. On the bottom, keep that x in front. Numbers multiplied to 56 subtracting to 1 are going to be 7 and 8. The 8 will be negative, then the 7 will be positive. So again, things end up canceling out nicely for us, and you're just left with what's left. 3 times x minus 1 on the top, x times x minus 8 on the bottom. Can anything else cancel? No. That's how you know you're done. In number 10 here, on the top, you're going to factor out a 5, leaving you with c squared minus 9. On the bottom, I'll factor out a 10, leaving me with c squared minus 5c plus 6. I can factor both of those even more. On the top, c squared minus 9 can become c plus 3, c minus 3. On the bottom, with the 10 here, factor 6 adding to 5 are going to be 3 and 2. My signs now, bigger number gets the negative in front, negative times negative gives you positive. So now I can try to cancel things out. C minus 3 is the same on the top and bottom, so I'm going to be left with, on the top, just c plus 3, on the bottom c minus 2. Now as for these numbers, 5 and 10, well they can both be divided by 5, so that would become, get a different color in here, that would become a 1, that would become a 2 on the bottom. So I'd still have this 2 out in front of the bottom. So c plus 3 up top, 2 times c minus 2 on the bottom. Last couple. For number 11. First, let's do the bottom because it's an easy one. On the bottom, factors of 18 subtracting to 3 are going to be 6 and 3. Bigger number gets signed in front. Negative times positive gives you negative. On the top, though, 6 minus x, that's very backwards from what we normally do. And the x is negative. If we factored out a negative here, that would give me negative 6 plus x, which is the same as saying x minus 6 on the top there. So what I did is I just factored out a negative, which changes the signs of the top, and negative 6 plus x is the same as saying x minus 6. So now you have those two canceling out, leaving you with just a negative up top, negative 1 over x plus 3. And the last one, you can divide out a 3 everywhere up top and on the bottom. I'm going to be factoring out a 3 in both situations. So this will leave a squared plus 9a plus 20. And on the bottom, a squared plus 4a minus 5. And all of these, make sure when you factor out a lead coefficient, you divide the 3 everywhere. Okay, so first off, the 3's are going to cancel. We know this because we got 3 divided by 3. So they'll just divide out to 1. I can still factor these guys more though. So when I do that, factors of 20 that add to 9 are going to be 5 and 4. On the bottom, factors of 5 that subtract to 4 are going to be 5 and 1. So a with 5, a with 1, positive 5, negative 1. And again, I should have things canceling. I do. It's the a plus 5, the entire factor, leaving me with a plus 4 all over a minus 1. There you have it. There's your review. Best of luck.